Today, I am excited to introduce you to the one, the only CEO and founder of Bitchin Sauce. Starr Edwards is joining us on the high achieving female podcast powered by No as a special guest of the 50 fastest woman owned and led businesses presented by JP Morgan Chase and WPO. I'm so excited for you to listen to this episode. We are talking all the things concept to farmers markets to being in the largest retail stores in America. This vegan almond based dip is taking the country by storm. Enjoy. Welcome to the High Achieving Female Podcast, powered by No, where we believe high achieving female leaders deserve to be known. Here, you're going to get the tips, tools, and inspiration you need to network, grow, scale, and balance your business, career, and life. This is a special series of the High Achieving Female Podcast powered by No, where you'll get up close and personal with the winners of the 50 fastest women-owned and led companies in America, as presented by WPO and JP Morgan Chase. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast. I am so excited to have the one, the only, the CEO and founder of Bitchin Sauce, Starr Edwards, here with us today. Welcome, Starr.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here today.
I am so excited about this conversation. Number one, because I and probably my entire team, we've been talking about this, we're avid lovers and consumers of Bitchin Sauce. So I have so many questions, and I know that all of our listeners, if you're not eating, tasting, consuming, you're going to go out and find this like in your local retail store now. So let's get into it. I have some serious questions for you, Starr.
Okay.
Number one question, Bitchin Sauce. How did you come up with the name?
I wish it was more interesting, but it's really not. And I didn't realize that it was going to be so impactful in my future when the decision came about. But basically, I was trying to come up with a fun, kind of happy-go-lucky name for this really weird product that we were making. And, you know, at the time, plant-based hadn't really hit the forefront of the consumers' minds yet. And so we were trying to actually not necessarily hide the fact that it was plant-based or hide the fact that it was made from almonds, but trying to make it really accessible. So I was like, oh, awesome sauce. That's great. Everyone loves awesome sauce. It's fun. It's playful. And, you know, I at least had the foresight to Google that and see if it was already taken. And of course, there was a million awesome sauces out there. So I basically just, you know, looked up synonyms and
Bitchin came about.
And then Bitchin, I was like, Bitchin, yeah, sweet. And, you know, we were in San Diego and surfers at the time. So it was definitely something that made a lot of sense.
So I have to say that when we met, so you were one of the winners of the 50 fastest women-led, women-owned companies in the U.S. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a wonderful honor.
And so when we met at the conference, which was the WPO Women's President Organization Conference presented by JP Morgan Chase, I have to say that you totally had this like really, really cool, you and your husband who I met, had this really, really cool vibe. And it seems so like in tune and in line with what you're providing with the name Bitchin Sauce. Totally see a surfer vibe. And I'm just so excited to tell you like that. We have been searching for a really solid vegan almond-based product forever, right? Like I love the fact that you have, in my mind, cornered the market on something that's tasty and healthy and that's dairy-free. And with all of these different allergies popping up and, dietary restrictions and preferences, I mean, I feel like what you have is a solid product. So kudos and congratulations to you on that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I think that it's been just kind of a really wonderful timing. it's been amazing actually.
And so the trajectory of this is it's been so fun to learn about the trajectory. So we always talk about this. There's no such thing as an overnight success. When you see the product that you're consuming or purchasing, usually the founder it has, poured blood, sweat, tears, sleepless nights, so many things in order for it to actually get to market. So I want to dig into like the backstory of Bitchin Sauce and sort of how it came about. You started this in 2010. And this was just like so many of these other products that we see and find at like the farmers market, at festivals, pop-up markets. Talk to us a little bit about what you were doing before Bitchin Sauce and then how you ultimately started developing it and why. What's the why?
The why is fun. The why is because I had a small child. My husband and I were newly married. Our son was, just over 1 year old, and really, I had not many skills, I guess, aside from being a good worker. And I was basically just working whatever I could find. It was kind of a tough time, I think, in the economy. Finding any job was really difficult. And I was able to find a really great gig where I was able to bring my son with me, and I was a nanny and also a personal chef. And basically a personal chef's apprentice. The lady I nannied for was teaching me all the things that she knew, and she had a wonderful business in the San Diego area. But then, she went on holiday during the summer months, and I was like, oh, geez, I need to figure out how to keep making money. And I decided that I could, start getting my own clients and kind of branch off, do my own thing. I had always been interested in vegan cooking and just kind of, making wholesome, like really nutritious comfort food. And the Bitchin Sauce was one of the just recipes I had, since I was like 16 years old, and,
Wow.
and being a raw vegan, romping about. So
Mm.
yeah, so then it was tough to get clients. I got a couple here and there, but I decided that if I was able to sample my cooking to people, then I would be able to build up the clientele. And really have more ownership over my time and be able to have more of a say in how much time I was able to spend with my son, so we wouldn't have to put him in a daycare or anything. So yeah, it actually took a while to get set up at the markets. It took I think in August I was really gung-ho about it, and then in October that was the very first market. And it was hilarious because I stayed up so late making all these pies, making all these cupcakes.
Yeah.
Went to the market and sold out of sauce, within like the first hour or two. And then, went home with a ton of pies. That was what I ate for like the next month. So
That is hilarious. That was my other question was like, so it wasn't always bitchin sauce. You had pies and all of these other things that you had planned to sell, and it was the bitchin sauce that took off of all things.
it was, and it was so funny because before that, my little private chef business was called the Pie Smith because I love making pies, and I like went home from that market and painted over like with a rolling brush thing, painted over my sign and repainted Bitchin Sauce on it.
That's hilarious. And you know what the truth is like sometimes we don't know what it is. It was like full market research, right? You're like, this is what I think they want. This is what I'm really good at. Let me stick it out and throw it out there. And then you came back and you were like, okay, we're not going to do pies. Everyone, we're doing bitchin sauce.
Yeah, it was a quick pivot, and I am really glad that I wasn't too precious at that point in time, to be like, people want pies and I will only do pies. So,
and I think that's really important in the beginning as you're like getting started and you're sort of testing the waters. We have to be agile. And I love that you were able to make a quick pivot because sometimes that's what it is. At a business, you've been in business for, oh my God, 12 years, right? So, or 13 years really. And over time, we just have to remain agile and really give the people what they want. It's more about them than it is about us, I think. So So you started in 2010 in October. That was your first farmers market. I asked you offline. I said, "What did you make in revenue that year?" And you said probably like $3,000. So $3,000 in your very first year of business. Pretty incredible growth in the last several years. And year two, you were kind of full on beyond the discovery period and made about $250,000 still in markets only, right?
Correct. Yeah. We were just farmers market focused, but it was a lot of markets. We got up to like 26 markets in San Diego.
And it was you and your husband, right?
Me and my husband, and then we really rallied. We brought all friends, family, got everyone living together in one tiny house that we called the Shanty Mansion, um, which it was not a mansion. It was like, 1,800 square feet, and we had 14 people living there.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, hustling, saucing. It was pretty great. We packed them in. We had my sister-in-law, who's now our CFO, was living in the living room, and her roommate was our commercial refrigerator.
Wow. Okay. So this is actually getting really interesting. So you were super scrappy in the beginning. And I love that you took along, it's like you took along your family, you took along your friends. You really did, like, you bootstrapped the hell out of this business to really get it to where it is.
Oh, yeah.
You started with how many flavors or recipes or types of bitchin sauce?
I mean, technically we started with one. We just had the original flavor. And then I was, just gung ho. I was like, people will love Chipotle. I love Chipotle. It's smoky, it's delicious. And brought that as our second flavor. And that one really took off a lot. Like, it's our number one flavor now. And then we had pesto and cilantro chili and just kind of started introducing different flavors. What was really great about the farmers markets is, we got to see the instant reaction from people as they tasted it. And, the numbers don't lie. When people get to taste all the flavors and they decide which ones they like, it was just such great learning experience.
I was seriously just about to say that, like, what a great opportunity to do like market research on the ground with the buyers, the people who are actually going to go in and buy these. So I have to say, you bootstrapped all the way up until 2021. This year you're on track to making $60 million. Holy cow. From 3,000 in year one to 60 million on track now. You have a full on factory. You are in all the major retailers that I've seen, at least. Talk to us about that pivot. How did you go from the farmers market year one, year two into the retail space? Talk to us a little bit about that, because I'm sure that there was definitely some hard decisions, some contacts, some networking, things like that had to happen.
Definitely. I think we were so fortunate just to be in the community that we were in, because at the farmers markets, everyone was very, very encouraging to us. And what we realized, though, was that we had to kind of branch out away from this instant gratification of, we sell a sauce, we see the money, it's cash in hand. And, doing that with the local mom and pop stores was really where we started. And they were so sweet. They mentored us through everything. They're like, you're going to need to figure out your shelf life. You're going to need to figure out, a UPC code and, the nutritional facts. There's all these steps that you need to do so that this can be retail ready. And really it was, just them kind of giving us the standards. And then I feel like I'm pretty good at playing like cards or playing games. I'm like, you tell me the rules, I can figure it out. So, having them tell me the rules was essential. And then, we just went from some of the mom and pop stores. We got into Whole Foods when they were still doing their local forager program, which allowed us to do, just like 4 stores in the region, and then, expand to like 14 stores in the region. And then actually Costco found us at the farmers market and
oh, wow,
decided that they would, mentor us so that we could go do Costco roadshows. And that was just an amazing experience. So much learning involved there because, it was like all of a sudden the standards went from being, farmers market kind of cottage industry to like, oh, geez, like we need to be at the pinnacle of, food safety and quality. And that was just really, that was a lot of work, but really, really rewarding.
I mean, how amazing is that? You were mentored by Costco, right?
Their team, I keep trying to encourage people. I'm like, their team is really helpful, really, really helpful. And like, almost like, gentle.
Right.
Like,
Because the business is so cutthroat. I think anytime you're looking to bring something to market and with large retailers, it's cutthroat. It's challenging. There's a lot of hoops. Talk to me about like procuring your first purchase order and how did that go? This episode of the High Achieving Female podcast is brought to you by the Business Growth Academy. Growing a business can be overwhelming, confusing, and lonely. Time and financial freedom feel hard to achieve, but it doesn't have to be that way. Vanessa Shaw is the go-to business coach and mentor for ambitious women who are ready to be the real CEO and scale their business to enjoy more money, more impact, and more freedom. If you want to free up at least one day a week, at a minimum of 6 figures in new business, and pay yourself more, reach out to her at businessgrowthacademy.com to chat about scaling without sacrificing what's most important to you. Now back to the show.
Purchase order from like any store or
from your first retail, what did that look like?
Well, the first retail, we were delivering still in coolers. So, we were like, how much will you need in a week? I guess we'll give you this much. And, we're guaranteeing every single tub of sauce. So we were definitely kind of putting in a lot of thoughts so that we didn't have to buy it all back. But yeah, I mean, it started just us delivering in coolers, and, I figured out QuickBooks online and printed an invoice, and it was really fun getting mailbox money. When that showed up 2 weeks later, I was like, this is great. We weren't even there. We didn't even have to sell this.
I know you made a joke that you had to go into retail because you were tired of the weather and the rain. And it's so funny because it's such a huge shift and pivot. What would you say to people out there who are in pop-ups, who might be listening to this, or who are doing the farmers markets and all of the things, and they have these huge, big dreams, whether it's in food or retail or some sort of product-based business, and their goal is to really get into that retail space, that more brick and mortar or even online retail space? What kind of advice would you give to them?
My advice would be to have a thick skin. Something I noticed from the farmers markets, which again, I just love that we had that experience. I don't think many founders, or not many founders, I don't think that all CPG has that, face to face with thousands of their consumers. But one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of people had opinions that were not helpful, or, just kind of like random things that were actually, kind of like, they were like tearing down a bit instead of like encouraging. We got a lot of criticism about our packaging. A lot of people just being like, this is never going to be big because your graphics are so awful. And it was funny because like I made them. I thought they were super funny. And it's actually been something that's like set us apart on the shelf now, because it isn't just like, whitewash, like Instagram worthy. It's pretty funny and quirky, and
yes,
like and like kind of a more iconic brand. But definitely like having a thick skin in that respect, and like just really paying attention to where people are putting their money. If they give you all this criticism and you take it to heart, but then they buy, 5 tubs of sauce, it's like, okay, it seems like maybe all these things you didn't like really don't matter that much because you're still willing to buy it. So yeah, have a thick skin.
Have a thick skin. This is, we recently did a panel in our flagships on vision and scaling. And one of the questions I asked the ladies on the panel was, if you had $2,000, only $2,000, knowing what you know now and thinking back to all of the things that you've been through, if you had only $2,000 to invest in your business, what would you spend that $2,000 on?
A filler. Are you talking about right, like at the beginning or right now?
Yeah, in the beginning, for anyone who's just getting started in business.
Yeah, a filler. I mean, that ended up being our first investment. We saved up, like we saved 10% every week of our profits that we would just like, devote towards our capital expenditures. And I remember saving up um, for a eBay piston filler, which changed our lives. Cause at the time, we're hand filling all of this
I was
stuff.
going to say you're spooning it in. And then
Oh,
so that was huge.
it was brutal. And then, we got this and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I have all this time that I can now dedicate towards, marketing materials and, sales and all this stuff. So yeah, if I had that to begin with, I definitely would have invested in that.
So you would say anything that would like really make the job easier then that would cut the time and make the job easier, whatever that is for them and their business.
Yeah, definitely. Something that allows, well, because you're wearing so many hats.
Yeah.
So, whatever is taking the most amount of time that requires like really the least amount of mental capacity, I would find a way to streamline that so that you can use your brain to problem solve all the other things that are on your plate.
So, and I have to ask you, I know that you're a wife and your husband's very involved in this business. He's also a musician who you travel quite a bit with him. You have 5 kids. I have this idea or this vision of like what life looked like when you first got started. So like I can just imagine like the hustle, the grind, the all the people living in the house and everybody like all hands in and just really pushing and getting this thing going. What is life looking like now?
Pretty much the same, but just louder.
More kids.
More kids, more music, just louder. And there's more of us. It's great.
And you're and you're still very involved in the business. So this is the thing that I love. You have some people who are they become CEOs and then they kind of like walk away from their business and go into this like CEO role. You're still very, very much in the trenches in like the day-to-day operations of the business. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have an amazing team that, I think is, probably more knee deep than I am at this point in time. But, definitely like this is a more than full-time job for me. And I think, we definitely made some pivots though a few years back because my husband is so interested in music and, that's his dream, that's his calling. We, basically set it up so that we could work remotely so that we could travel as a family and support him in doing that. Thankfully we did that, before everything shut down. So we were really used to working remotely. So yeah, we have an amazing team that gets stuff done and we basically are able to, from wherever we are in the world, we're able to connect with them and, help to lead and direct the company.
I love that because when you started this business, you really started it as, like we said, like in a pursuit to finding like balance and to being able to be present in your personal life as well as in your work life and, and to sustain your livelihood. So I think that is so cool and incredible that you really have been able to sort of like create the life of your dreams and business of your dreams so that you can have your hands in a lot of different places, traveling on the music side and touring with your husband, being a mom of 5, being a boss CEO woman and founder of a really healthy vegan, raw vegan brand. And honestly, just being a leader, right? And being a testimony to women, the creators, the makers that really have these big dreams to take it further. So I think you're doing amazing. If someone hasn't told you recently, let me be the one.
Thank you so much. That's so kind. You're an amazing
yeah, no worries. So I have to know how many, so you started with one, the original, how many are you up to now? And your top bestseller, which one is it?
The top bestseller is still the Chipotle.
Yep.
That Chipotle. I'm going to get busted for this because I don't know the exact number, but I think we're up to like over 20 flavors, which is a lot.
That is a lot.
But I think some of them, have been resigned to the flavor graveyard, like Ben and Jerry's has, where it's like, that was a good idea and some people liked it, but it's not ready to go mainstream just yet.
That's so funny. And I have to say, I would ask you where people can find and purchase Bitchin Sauce, but the truth is it's literally everywhere. It's in Target and Walmart. It's in all of our local grocery stores. It's in Costco. It is in Whole Foods, right? It's really at any place that you would want to or prefer to purchase some sort of like a vegan raw food line. Isn't that correct?
It is, yeah. I think maybe just the only trick is sometimes it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt because there's multiple dip sets within stores. You have like a dairy
Mhm.
dip set and a hummus dip set, and then like one that's next to all the vegetables. So sometimes you have to look for it, but we are there.
I love that. Any advice you would give to any mamas out there, maybe who are struggling with work-life balance? Maybe they're feeling that mama guilt, or anything that you would say to them?
Definitely. I think, being a mother is just the greatest thing. It's so humbling. It's life-changing in so many ways. And I think that I would, just say like, don't compromise if you don't have to. Obviously, life is full of compromises, but that was just one of those things that was so important to me. Was like I want to be present for my kids, and even if it's I'm working, at least they're watching me work. Like I'm teaching them by
Right.
example, seeing this happen. They're seeing all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this. Um, so yeah, and that's obviously it's not for everyone. A lot of people are like, no, this is great. My kid is getting great social interaction, and that's important to them. But I just anytime people are told, you can't do it this way, or even just passively kind of like directed to believe things like that, like use your mama instinct, and if it's a prickle in you, then just be like no, and really fight for the things that you want.
I love that. And are you still surfing?
I haven't surfed in a while. Yeah, but in my own defense, I've been just like pregnant for like 10 years.
That's right. I mean, for those who are listening, she has a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, an 11-year-old, and a 14-year-old. So
It's just I should probably, take a break from that and get back in shape and get back on a board.
my
But yeah,
goodness.
I always get like really excited about surfing like when I'm like 6 months pregnant and it's really hard.
Right. I mean, and you are stunning and amazing and all right. So, I just have to ask you one last question. When did you know? When did you know that this was going to be something and that you were going to go all in and really take this thing to market?
It was at the farmers markets, I think what we kept trying to like make, just enough, and we kept selling out. And I was like, okay, well, we'll make just enough, for this market. It'll be 30 sauces. And then we sold out. And then I was like, shoot, okay, just enough, 35 sauces. And then we sold out. And when I realized that we hadn't hit the ceiling, I think we went to a farmer's market and we brought like 500. We're like, this is insane. There's no way we will ever sell this many. And then we did, and like sold out. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no ceiling to this. And I think that's a constant lesson, but I'm like I'm consistently surprised. Like people are still buying a lot of this. It's amazing. Where's the ceiling? But yeah, I guess I'm still learning that.
I love that. Any final words for anybody who might be listening, who is just really needing a little bit of encouragement to keep going?
You can do it. You can definitely do it. If you like, I think that I knew nothing about this business. I knew very little about, food, about really managing people, anything. And, as long as you have the willingness to learn and, the drive to make it happen, I think that just having the drive to make something happen, covers a multitude of shortcomings. So just do it. Go for it.
I love that. On that note, Starr, thank you so much for joining us on this special Up Close with the 50 Fastest Winners. I'm so excited to know you, and I have already told her, everyone, that she is going to be joining us at our summit in 2024. If I'm getting her on stage. You're going to get to know her and meet her and see her in real life. So we're going to make that happen. But for now, go buy Bitchin Sauce. It is so good. If you have not had it, get it. No lie, the Chipotle is the best. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the High Achieving Female Podcast, powered by No, where we believe it's time for high achieving women like you to be seen, heard, and recognized. Until next time, remember, you deserve to be known.